Hi, welcome to Road to Reason.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could teach the gullible to never be so comfortable, but not to eat like comfort food, to disregard the bogus claims and pseudo-scientific claims? Can you imagine just how much indeed the world would change? No more political predators playing on the populace, but ilkas and plots to shift and kill metropolis. No more villains with the title in the Bible, holding phony temper Bibles like the stuff they teach is vital. Imagine it was normal to have to prove a claim you make, and folks really feel ashamed expressing content that was fake. It's not to say we never make mistakes, it's just to say we go out of our way to show the evidence it takes.
Remain skeptical while you travel the road. The reason stay strapped with logic and facts. That's what it is, yo. Keep reality needs ass and help the truth grow. Question every claim, especially the ones you believe in. Remain skeptical while you travel the road. The reason.
Hi, welcome to Road to Reason. I'm Scott Maddox, your host.
Welcome to Cooking with Christ. Today, your host.
And I'm Tiffany Harding. Sorry I'm late, everybody.
Today is Sunday, December 27th, 2015, and this is our last show of the year.
Yeah, this is the last show of 2015. Well, we were just talking about what an odd year it was. We were very productive, especially for the skeptic community, but there were also a lot of setbacks. We will get into that today.
This will be sort of a year in review show, covering all the religious and atheism and skepticism related stories, and go over them with our commentary.
Trust me, it'll be a fun ride, just like this year was. But first, we always like to start out with our joke of the week. So, okay, we'll make this quick. One day, a zookeeper noticed the orangutan was reading two books. One book was the Bible, and the other book was Darwin's Origin of Species. And so the zookeeper asked, he's like, hey, why are you reading those books? Well, said the orangutan, I just wanted to know if I was my brother's keeper or my keeper's brother. We laughed so much in the meeting room.
It's funnier the first time.
It's funnier the first time.
Hopefully people were laughing somewhere.
Well, if you were alive and in this country this week, we just got over Christmas. Thank goodness it's over. And so we're going to honor our skeptic of the week.
Yep. To all the kids out there who, snuck out of bed late at night to see whether it was Santa Claus who was putting the Christmas presents under the tree or in the stockings, or whether there's anyone coming down the chimney or going up the chimney or kissing your mom that wasn't your father. We salute you.
Put it this way, Christmas time is a time of warm traditions and time-worn stories. And so those kids who have the budding skepticism to think about maybe these stories are invented to keep me from being naughty,
But for many, this could be like their first foray into the skeptic life, and questioning how true the things that their parents have been telling them are, and especially when they involve a magical man in a red suit or a magical man on a piece of wood, or
It's all about that first budding skepticism, and usually it's the child not believing in Santa for the first time. So we salute you, skeptic of the week. So now we're going to turn to news, and as it's the Christmas week, as the Christmas week just ended, the three news stories we have are all about the most time-honored, the most time-honored tradition of Christmas, and those are nativity scenes, especially when they cause legal troubles. So first?
So there was an embattled, apparently, nativity scene from CNN. Amid threat, zombie nativity scene lives to see another day. So I guess the local government has been putting $500 daily fines against an individual who's been displaying a zombie-themed nativity scene on their own personal property. I don't think that's fair.
Apparently the neighbors were a little upset at the display. I personally think it's pretty creative.
Yeah.
I mean, but what do I know?
It looks good.
I thought it was neat, but some people, of course, they had their panties twisted by the idea of having a zombie Jesus nativity scene. But yeah, they were fining the poor guy $500 a day, and he refused to take it down. And so it all comes down to freedom of speech, having your own autonomy of your own property, and then even going on to good taste and Christmas decorations.
Yeah. Most of the time you hear about these nativity scene stories involving atheists, it's atheists are trying to get rid of the nativity scenes, and in this case it was on an atheist, presumably an atheist property, and the government was the one fighting against them.
Scott, this is God.
Yes, God.
What people don't understand is that I, the inventor of the original zombie apocalypse, I rose my own son from the dead, and all of the corpses stood up upon his ascension into heaven.
This is in the Bible, people.
So please do not trample on my version of zombies.
We'll try not to.
We're
Lord.
sorry.
The Walking Dead is pretty cool.
In Texas, there was a nativity scene that the governor himself had taken down. This was the Bill of Rights nativity scene, and it was put up by the Texas. They were a group of skeptics, and I can't find their name right now. But basically, the nativity scene was the Statue of Liberty, Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, and George Washington posed around a manger, and in the manger, instead of Jesus, it was the Bill of Rights. And apparently this super patriotic display was not wholesome enough, and the actual governor of Texas had it removed. So you get into that whole patriotic religious thing, and it's 6 in one hand and half a dozen in the other, if you ask me.
They'll make the argument whatever will work, patriotism, if it helps them, this isn't religious, this isn't a violation of the First Amendment or the Establishment Clause, it's pro-America thing, and part of how they do that is linking together patriotism and Christianity and founding fathers, and it's all balled together, whether there's any truth to that or not, but enough people believe it for it to not go challenged except by the few.
And so in more news, another nativity scene was removed, and of course the nativity scene is the expression of the almost fairy tale. It's been mythicized, the Jesus, Mary, Joseph around the manger. And there was another secular display in Harrison County that was taken down. And the group sued to get the American Humanist Association sued over its removal of the nativity scene from the county courthouse. You can have your nativity scene, just don't put it on public property. Your state should not be endorsing any kind of religious iconography. I mean, secular Christmas is one thing, but when you put your nativity scene on public county grounds, then that's another issue altogether. And so that's what's going on. Christmas is over, and we won't have to deal with the war on Christmas for another year.
The war on Christmas.
So we'll get to that. But I also did want to talk about since we got over the Christmas season, and since we got over the shopping season and the war on Christmas and the Josh Fierstein and the red cup thing and all that, it's over. We're done, and we can look back on 2015 and then we can reflect. Especially when it comes to skepticism and reason going into 2016.
And we can talk about Kwanzaa.
Oh, we're going to talk about Kwanzaa.
Holiday season's not over until you talk about Kwanzaa.
The second day of Kwanzaa is today. It's Kujichagulia.
Kujichagulia. I believe that's how it's pronounced.
And I should have pronounced that. Actually, it doesn't matter. But actually, Kwanzaa was started as a secular holiday back in the 60s for those in the African diaspora. And each day represents some sort of tenet of, I forget.
Positive qualities and ideas that they want to promote. And I think in past years, different groups have been celebrating it. It's not just an African or an African American holiday. It's whoever wants to celebrate it, and it's not. A lot of people might think that it's a Christian holiday because
no, it's actually secular.
It's very Afrocentric or whatever, and it's not necessarily that either. It's just
We have to think about the time when it came
Right.
about. In the 1960s, you had Pan-Africanism, you had the Civil Rights Movement,
Black Power
movement coming out, and so you had Christians and you had Muslims. So in order to keep everybody happy, they kept the holiday secular.
Right.
And so happy Kwanzaa! If you are out there celebrating Kwanzaa, light your beeswax candles and give away your hand carved. I thought I heard God about to talk to us.
And more power to you in your inner determination or your Kujichagulia.
Kujichagulia. The last one I do remember is about faith. That is the only one I don't get.
And that one, I was like, I like the first 6 or so days. The last day is faith, and I don't know about that. But on Wikipedia, the description of it I saw was it didn't mention anything about religion, even though it used the word faith. I think it was like faith in community, faith in people, faith in yourself. And I'm like, that's a secular faith or confidence is what I would prefer. But those are still qualities I can get behind. It's I don't like the word faith though.
No, me neither.
I'd go with whatever the African or Swahili name is that they're using though.
Ujima? I forget. All right, well look, we'll talk about that when we come back from break. So see you in a minute.
Yep.
Welcome to Cooking with Christ. Today your host, Jesus Christ, and his co-host, Mr. Hanky.
Welcome everybody to today's edition of Cooking with Christ. I'm your host, Jesus Christ, and with me today we have Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh, because today is a very special day. It is the Christmas special. And we are going to teach you how to make a wonderful Christmas casserole.
Jesus, I got an idea. I want to float by you.
Okay, you can, just so long as you don't make any more turd jokes. Have you ever heard the expression of tempting the patience of Christ?
Well, I got something serious I want to talk about.
So long as it's serious.
Instead of a Christmas casserole, why don't we make it a Christmas corn casserole?
All right, that's it.
You little crap. He's kicking the crap out of me. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus, kicking the crap out of me. Oh.
Good.
Homemade noodles. Marty, stop it! Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. It reminds me, I've been thinking maybe we should try a new form of birth control. I heard about this one, it's called the IUD, intrauterine device. Or we could try the patch on your arm. Actually, I think that one goes on your butt.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
What do you think then? Arm or the butt?
There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
This is Richard Dawkins. Doing commercials is unfamiliar territory for me, but I'm inviting you to watch Road to Reason, a skeptic's guide to the 21st century, on Fairfax Public Access every Sunday. Each week the hosts tackle wishful thinking, religion, pseudoscience, and the harm they cause, with a combination of facts, humor, and community involvement. They challenge believers to defend their faith and give you, the skeptic, a voice. With live call-ins for viewers and streaming on the World Wide Web, there's never a dull moment. Don't wait. Look at them now on Facebook and YouTube, and remember to watch Road to Reason, a skeptic's guide to the 21st century, or there'll be hell to pay.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
Hi, may I please have an application? Thank you.
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
Okay.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
A critical thinker is in a frame of mind of always questioning everything, including things they don't necessarily want to question. You may have done some research and satisfied yourself on a position you're sure is right. Good. Now, after a month or two of that, go look at some research that opposes your point of view or challenges the position you've taken. You can even look into it with the idea of poking holes in their arguments if you want, but it would be better to just have an open mind and read it as though you'd never heard or seen anything on the issue before. You may be very surprised what you learn, and if you're doing this right, you will be. Always be open to opposing points of view and counter arguments. That's what critical thinking is all about. And now you know.
And we're back.
So, do you want to go into year in review stories, or?
I think I would like to go into year in review stories. So we just saw a PSA from Chris Shelton, and we're proud to have him on the show before. He will be back again, because that reminded me, Going Clear came out this year, which was a great expose on that wackiest of religions, Scientology. Did you see it or read the book?
I did watch it. Didn't read the book. I saw it pretty much like right when it came out. It was fascinating stuff. I was a little shocked by how serious it is. It's like, oh, it's a church. They're like giving you a hard time. It's like they might excommunicate you. Big deal. This sounded like they were doing death threats, threatening people's livelihood, threatening other family members. They were making it personal. So
I enjoyed learning about the marketing. I mean, it is pure marketing. L. Ron Hubbard marketed his perfect religion. What I learned from the documentary and the book, he marketed his religion to bring people in and make it very difficult to leave. And it reminded me of another religious documentary that came out this year, not as well known. It's called Prophets Pray, and it's about the FLDS, Fundamentalist Mormon Church, and how its leader, Warren Jeffs, have you heard about this guy?
I've heard about him. He's in prison currently,
He's in prison now, and he's still running things to them. And a lot of the documentary was talking about that mental grip he has on these people. And they believe that this is just the biggest trial. Him going to jail made their cause even more important.
Kind of like martyrdom without death. And
it was very fascinating. So if you have an opportunity to check out two great documentaries about strange religious practices this year. You have Going Clear and Prophets Pray. So I would say check them out. That's a big one.
I have a kind of a shout out to Church Night in DC. I recently attended their holiday spectacular.
Show the flyer.
It's a church called Some Souls Church. They've got Reverend Dr. Stevedore Maybelline Bidet Esquire presiding over that congregation.
It's a comedy night, right?
Blessings and Light. It's a variety show. I believe there's striptease. Shots and Tots communion is had. They sing hymns.
This is Scott. Did I hear striptease?
You did. You heard right.
I'll be there.
Why does God always
good
show
time
up?
had by all, 21 and up, at the Black Cat
Up on 14th Street?
Yes, and it will be January 9th, the next service.
God only shows up when he thinks there's going to be breasts.
Oh, yeah, why do you think I made them?
Why is it? Okay. So, in other news, we had what happened back in June with the lady with the denim dress.
In Afghanistan?
No, I'm talking about in Kansas or no, Kentucky. Kentucky.
Oh, Kim Davis.
There you go.
Kim Davis was the Kentucky clerk in in a marriage license office or a DMV, and she was the sole tyranny provocateur who, if you wanted to get married, you know, man and woman, 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 man, man, you had to get her stamp of approval. And of course, she was withholding her stamp of approval due to her deep-seated Christian values. This is a woman who has gone through multiple divorces, multiple children outside of the holy matrimony wedlock.
This was the story, because back in June, the Supreme Court actually legalized same-sex marriage all over the entire, I know, right? All over the entire United States. We finally caught up with the rest of the developed world in Europe, I know. So with this decision came the whole religious rights argument. So should a person be forced to do something that their
betraying their own personally held religious beliefs? Is this a violation of their First Amendment rights? And there's also some like tricky nuances to it because she was an elected official. You know, it wasn't that a case of like you could just fire her. You know, she was the people's candidate and put in there for a term, and you know she'll come up for re-election or
oh, she'll get it. I mean, she comes from a very red. I mean, not red, I don't want to say red, very conservative part of the Bible Belt. And the thing that gets me the most about this whole argument and how the same-sex religion discussion got it into the forefront is that this idea of binary romantic marriage is actually pretty new. When they talk about the one of preserving traditional marriage, you know, biblical traditional marriage is usually a man, whoever his family picks for him, and you know his concubines and other wives. You know, this idea of people getting two people, just two, man and a woman getting married over romantic love is probably 100, maybe 200 years old. It used to be,
and they didn't always have this, you know. And I think being able to marry for love it's
a luxury.
It's a luxury, but it's also like in tune with the progress of women's rights, and that, you know, women, you know, might have used to have been sold, you know, with dowries and other financial familial transactions, and or you know, women might have just been slaves or might have just been raped. And you know, marriage is an institution, and it's based on traditions and government laws and stuff like that. And you know, now with this new court decision, we have a new set of traditions that can develop. And,
absolutely. Who's to say what traditional marriage is 50 years down the line?
Yeah.
And we put it this way: as the religious sect had their own discussion about what marriage is and what constitutes a marriage, also you have your seculars going, well, what is marriage? And what constitutes a marriage? So they brought about this whole thing back in June this year, brought about a lot of discussion in 2015, and it's not going to end anytime soon. So we already have our material ready for next December 2016. Okay, next.
Do we want to talk about ISIS?
Let's talk about the Syrian refugee crisis.
Which is
that rhymes.
similarly, or it's kind of related, right? Like, is ISIS operating in Syria?
Absolutely.
They're the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so because of the civil war that's been raging in Syria since 2012, there's been a huge migration of refugees, people, Syrians, regular people, fleeing because ISIS is burning everything down and killing people. And so that's made a lot of culture clashes throughout Europe, a lot of fear-mongering, a lot of
anti-Muslim rhetoric, especially from
rhetoric.
Republican candidates, because they know that, I mean, the Republican Party is essentially a Christian party.
We'd like to talk about that too, because I know a lot of I'd say Republicans. I know a lot of people on that side who aren't religious at all. I would like to know how they feel about having their party hijacked by the religious right, but they are using their religion to say, as a party, we want to reject this group of people.
And it's a polarizing issue to invoke religion. It's like us versus them. It's Christians versus Muslims. And Muslims are so closely associated with terrorism. Not that they or anyone thinks that all Muslims are terrorists, but I mean, like, they don't know, and it's that fear of the unknown. It's like, you know, you let in 1,000, maybe like 1 per 1,000 is terrorist. That's too much for them, or too much of a risk.
Well, no,
don't even want to risk it.
You're in an election year, and of course these kinds of things are going to come out. People love to put the fear in. So like, we had the Ebola thing this year. Remember that?
Yeah, and it's like they don't want to let Africans immigrate or vacation here, and it's like, you know, are the Africans that are here, do they have Ebola? Did they just come over here on a plane?
They still have signs up that say if you've traveled in. But I mean, it's all this whole xenophobia, this thing. It's really great for an election year.
And
next year,
it's nothing new either. It's you know, the syphilis spreading throughout medieval Europe. They're like, oh, it's a French disease. That's what the Italians are saying, or the French are saying it's an Italian disease, and it's a European disease.
It's a European disease. People, basically, when it comes to this country, the United States, 2015 was that year of we should be afraid of those who aren't like us, and that was huge this year. You had the Kim Davis and the gay thing. You have the Syrian refugees, and then the conversation about, well, Muslims, are they Americans first? Blah 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 blah. You know, but this was the year of fear of the different.
Yeah,
and hopefully next year.
And it all comes together as this like. You know, you can look at it from a criticism of the media standpoint of like, you know, how do they craft stories together to make it something newsworthy? You know, Kim Davis is a poster child. You know, they focus on an individual story and use that and to make their case, and they blow it out of proportion and make it seem like it's a national or a global issue, when it's like they found one example, or like the cake thing with the same-sex marriage, trying to get a cake, and they're like, we're not making a cake.
They ended up getting charged, and I made fun of Josh Fierstein earlier this year for saying that. I hate to go back to the gay thing, but I do want to talk. They got charged, this bakery got charged $135,000, and Josh Fierstein said, this is a tax on Christianity. No, it wasn't.
It's not a tax.
They harassed that lesbian couple and gave away their personal information.
Right.
And they were being...
So it was a
court fine.
Yeah, I did a lot of research on that as the story was developing. At first, it sounded like a huge $135,000 fine against a cakery bakery. And
sounds delicious.
I was like, that seems a bit excessive, but then I learned that, like, you know, it wasn't just that they're like, we're not going to make you a cake. It's that they made comments to one of the women's mothers, and that were like discriminatory, like quoting Bible verses in a somewhat hateful way. But then, like, the real sticker was that, like, they went on their business's Facebook page, put the client, and they were a previous client for a non-same-sex wedding birthday cake prior to that. They put their personal information, like address and names, on the Facebook page for everyone to see, and the couple ended up getting death threats and all this negativity from, you know, rando strangers on the internet.
But that doesn't fit their narrative. Their narrative is that they were fine because they refused to make the cake for the gay people.
Right.
And that's not what happened. I want to move on.
Yeah.
Another thing that happened this year that was awesome that almost everyone forgot about was back in July, New Horizons flew past Pluto and took some awesome pictures. I remember when they launched the thing, and I was very excited. And then that also brings about
a triumph.
Exactly, it was a triumph in science.
For humanity and science and
people, I'd love to hear the arguments like, oh, well, what's the point in funding NASA? What's the point of sending, $1 billion satellite into space?
There's so many different bits of research that they find out, and I mean this is part of the exit strategy from Earth. If we have to leave, we want to be prepared. We want to have our bags packed.
Oh no!
And this is part of that.
This is God again.
I heard. I could feel it. Go ahead.
I just want to say about space exploration of Pluto. First of all, nothing changes. Pluto's still a planet because I say so. And
I'm sorry, Pluto. You're not.
Frankly, I created the entire universe with billions and trillions and billions of stars. That is so massive you can't even imagine how massive it is. But I want to make sure everyone that's watching this show knows that you shouldn't be touching yourself under the sheets because that's what's really important. And there is no life and there is no escape. You can go to Pluto, go where you like. There is no exit plan. Thank you.
Thank you, God.
Thank you.
But New Horizons did send back some really awesome pictures of the furthest planetoid. No, it's actually called a dwarf planet. It's not a planet anymore.
And they might have found water flowing on Mars, it might be dry ice now. I was a little disappointed.
They were a lot of speculation because Curiosity is still up there rolling around on Mars, and they found this year was the year they said there might have been or is or could be flowing water. I wish they would give us a yes or no.
Yeah.
Because it would be super interesting.
I'm not gonna drink it though.
No, I mean it. The water on Mars is a big deal because water is a necessary chemical solution for life. And so
whether there's life there currently
or there used to be, we'd like to find that out. And so that's what Curiosity found out. Literally, it's a great name for the thing. And
just wondering.
Just some water with bugs in it, maybe. Who knows? But that was a big year in science. Oh, also in science we had. Remember the guy? He just got arrested. Martin Shkreli.
Oh, in science? Well, in finance.
In finance, but it was a scientific formula that he owned.
Oh, right. Is a medicine that was kind of obscure for treating, was it HIV?
No, it was treating toxoplasmosis, which can be. It has to be treated differently if you have HIV.
Oh, right,
because your
immune system. Extra vulnerability to that.
And so in this treatment, he rose the price of this drug
400 or 4,000%.
4,000%.
He hiked up the price very high. I think that was maybe drawing attention, unneeded, unwanted attention to him, or
wealthy,
maybe
why do you need attention?
Yeah, I read an article in the Washington Post about him and how it sounds like he had been under investigation for a while,
right?
From board members for a company that he was the CEO of and got kicked off the board of directors for basically, there's this concept in stock. Brokerage stuff and being an honest broker. He was. They were like, he's not an honest broker. He's lying about stuff. And he got arrested like
just
a week ago for
Merry Christmas,
running essentially a Ponzi scheme like Bernie Madoff did, where essentially he's robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
He's taking investors' money based off of false information.
Well, my thing was, it's Can you buy and sell a formula for something like medicine? Is that ethical? Is it ethical to do
It's
that?
legal. Is it ethical to jack up the price? I mean, he explained that like, oh, you know, we're charging a lot for this so that we can fund research into other stuff. But I don't.
Sure. And then he bought a $2 million Wu-Tang album.
Yeah.
But no, I mean that's the thing. I want to know if, like, for example, when Dr. Fleming discovered penicillin, or when Jonas Salk invented the polio vaccine, what if they had done the same thing?
Yeah, and those are like groundbreaking. But I mean, like anything where you're like putting a high price on it, you're getting in the way of progress, I think, and you're creating walls to accessing it for like other people. You know, the next Jonas Salks might not be able to afford to do research into, you know, a project like that they care about.
Yep.
That's unfortunate.
So moving on with the rest of this year, this weird year.
The Pope visited.
Yeah, I was about to say we had a special visit back in September.
Talking about it for like a year in advance. I was looking forward to it. I was curious what that was going to be like, what effect it was going to have on DC.
Yeah, I live right next door to Andrews Air Force Base, and we were watching the coverage of the plane landing. I'm not Catholic by the longest shot, but I was excited for the Pope to come. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I watched it on the news. I even got 3 days off of work because they said that his visit would plug up traffic so bad. You just stay home.
Right.
You know, and
a lot of federal employees getting offered telework privilege, you know, during those times based on commute time being
right. So he also spoke in front of Congress, which is a first.
Yeah, but kind of I mean, in one respect, he's a world leader of the Vatican, which is a country.
Technically, he's a national leader.
So yeah, but like, you know, who invited him? It was then Catholic Speaker of the House, John Boehner.
Right.
So and
did you hear about his stolen water glass?
I think so.
So as the Pope was speaking in Congress, you know, he had a glass of water and he was drinking and he put it down. So apparently after he left, a congressman came up and took the glass because the Pope had drank out of it, and he kept it for like a souvenir or something.
It's a holy relic now.
It's a holy relic, like St. Peter's finger bone or something.
He can't touch anything without someone trying to keep it.
So apparently he went home and, no, seriously, Google this. He went home and like blessed his family with the water that the Pope had been drinking. But anyway, he came to DC first, then he went to Philadelphia, and he's still on his worldwide rockin' tour. But
he also visited Africa.
Yeah,
Is he the first to visit Africa?
To
maybe
visit parts of Africa. I
so
believe.
it's significant as a news story, and it's interesting in that, you know, the Pope, the Catholic Church has been mired in the priest abuse, sexual abuse scandals, and
you have a lot of also in Africa, in lots of countries in Africa, which have huge Catholic populations.
That's
and
where
also,
they're showing the most growth.
Exactly, but they also have AIDS epidemics.
And the Catholic Church's stance on condom non-usage is detrimental to fighting HIV/AIDS crisis throughout that continent and the world.
And you have the, for example, in Uganda, you have the whole "kill the gays" thing, you know, and if
imprison the gays.
And if the Pope said, you know, gays are cool, then maybe things could change in those nations. Is it his obligation to do these things?
Is it anyone's obligation to do these things?
Well, he's got 1 billion people following him.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's a matter of, you know, when you have power, it's like just a question of what do you want to do with that power? The Pope's visits, I think it's good for furthering the Church's popularity. They're trying, you know, people who will attend these visits and they'll become stronger Catholics for it probably, and raise, you know, stronger Catholic children or something. They'll be like, oh, I brought you to the thing and he blessed you, and it's like, wow. and I've met people who've bragged about like being those babies that got blessed at like John Paul II's visits and stuff.
Wow. Well, I mean, we also had another foreign, maybe religious leader speak to Congress this year. Remember earlier this year, back in March, was it April? Benjamin Netanyahu came and talked to Congress. And there was a big controversy about having a foreign leader speaking to Congress. But he also got reelected as the Prime Minister of Israel. So that was a big deal in that he's not really helping with the situation over there. And they say he used the fear tactics to get reelected. But again, in skepticism, especially I don't even want to think about the situation in Israel. You know, it's totally different than what we experience. You know, one thing I learned, sorry for surprising you, that one of the reasons why the leaders in Congress and some government leaders are so backing Israel is because they literally believe that the apocalypse is going to happen, and Jesus won't come back unless the Jews are in Israel.
So it's like, you know, the issues that they're trying to promote and the leadership they're trying to put in power, like, are they working to a peace solution, or are they working towards end of the world solution?
They want their fan fiction to come to life.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we're about to hear from God on this one. God?
Well, you know you're going to hear from me on this one.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, not only do the Jews have to be there, the Antichrist has to come back through that.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a really well thought out master plan of mine. So I want everybody to know I've really thought this out. And you can pick whichever faction of Christians you like and just trust in that. So there will be an apocalypse, and Israel will definitely be central to it. And, well, that's just part of my plan.
Thank you. And it's not convoluted and complicated at all. Not in the slightest.
And
I was being sarcastic. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. No,
I think it should be noted that psychics didn't make any true predictions this year. Like January 1st to December 31st, they're not going to get anything right.
I just read, speaking of psychics, I just read an article that a psychic has been arrested because she had swindled over $200,000 from one person. Doing predictions and like aligning their chakras and
Swindle is a harsh word to use.
Especially when it comes to psychics, because there's no regulation in this industry, and it is an industry.
There is regulation.
Really?
One day I was perusing Maryland law. I don't remember why, but somehow I stumbled across a thing about licensing. And it turns out that in the state of Maryland, psychics, it's similar to liquor laws.
You've got to be kidding.
Where there's only a set number of licenses for psychics. And so they apply for them, as they're available, and they get them. And, you hear a lot of psychics say, like, oh, all the women in my family have the gift. And the gift is actually the license, which... In the law, it says that it's allowed to be passed through your family.
Like a car dealership?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So
that's the gift is just, they don't have to give up the license when they die. They just pass it to their daughter, and the family business, which it is, continues on.
So what kind of test do you have to do to get a psychic license?
I doubt that there's any test because of Establishment Clause, and there should be no religious tests.
Oh my God! Well, is psychictivity? Is that a religion?
How would you test it? There is no scientific test that has yet proven.
How many fingers am I holding up on this? Oh, if you get best 3 out of 10, then I guess you. You get your psychic license.
If only the James Randi Foundation, with their $1 million prize, was in charge of vetting psychics before they got official licensure to operate.
You'd
probably have 0.
It's 2015. We have the totality of human knowledge in cheap plastic devices. Okay. We have spacecraft flying past Pluto. We have robots on Mars, and we still have people who think that they can go to somebody who wears a scarf with lots of beads on it and they can tell them their future.
You can lead a horse to an iPad, but you can't make them listen to Serial Season 2.
I'm down with you. Okay, so this has been a year in a lot of pseudoscience. And this has been we talked about real science. We're gonna talk about some pseudoscience. Okay, do you have any good pseudoscience news?
Pseudoscience news.
Besides psychics and their licenses, and psychics swindling people out of thousands and thousands of dollars.
There was the Virginia, was he governor or senator or might have been governor. He got indicted and maybe arrested.
Oh, it was the governor.
It was because of dealings with a guy who is wanting like some kind of like under the table deal. And the guy that he was doing business with was a supplement guy.
Yeah,
like holistic.
That was. I think he was. They were convicted. It was Bob McDonald and his wife, and they were selling, or I'm not even sure because I don't live in Virginia. It doesn't affect me. They were. I'm just kidding. I know we broadcast in Virginia, but he was selling favors and things to this guy who was a supplement guy, and I found out that the supplement industry is huge in this country. Diamond supplements.
Whole Foods has got a lot of supplement things, and was it homeopathic remedies? I think France has like banned some of them. Like
there is no scientific proof that homeopathy works. Of course, there's no proof that supplements. Now there's a difference. They'll tell you, well, vitamins. Oh, you need vitamins. What they're talking about is vitamin supplements. Okay, you get all the vitamins you need from the food you eat. Vitamin supplements are basically cornmeal pills with a little bit of extra vitamins in it that really don't do anything. There could be too much of a good thing. It's a huge business, and it's been blowing up, and it's almost impossible to regulate. So maybe in the future, after this year, we can get some. But this was a weird year in science when it comes to food and GMOs and supplements and
there is a salmon. Now we can have is it GMO salmon has been approved by the FDA, I believe. It's like the first GMO animal, I think, to be approved.
I think so, and trust me, it wasn't just a decision that came out of nowhere. They've been working on studying these fish for years, and they've been cleared for sale. And of course, you have your anti-science, I don't want to call them extremists, but people who are fear-mongering GMOs. Of course, there are some real concerns about genetically modified crops and seeds and foods. But
it's
some
new territory, new frontier in science
in
and
a way, but
culinary arts.
There is no reason to fear. I mean, all it is we've been GMOing things for centuries. Yep. Right.
It's just we're changing the way we've done it, and it's gotten more complicated. It isn't you just throw things in the ground and it grows, and then you change it up a little and it grows slightly differently. It's like now we're doing it on the molecular level. We're not even doing it in the dirt. We're doing it in a lab, and so because farmers aren't privy to that kind of stuff, people.
You've got a lot of fear coming up out of it, and this year was a year that made a lot of issues from people not understanding or not wanting to understand the realities of genetically modified food or genetically modified organisms. What would you just write down?
I wrote down a name, Arian Foster. Normally, I would not know who this person is or care because I'm not an NFL football fan. But it's very significant in that he is the very first out and open atheist footballer.
Really?
In the NFL.
See,
And
that I didn't know.
They're very rare in sports too. Like there's Chris Cluey, I think he spoke at a past American Atheist Convention. He's an out atheist or agnostic, but he wasn't out while he was in the NFL. Arian Foster is significant in that.
Because he's still in.
He's still in currently.
It reminds me back early in the 2000s when Pat Tillman got killed, and he was an atheist, and they made it clear, don't do the religious stuff for my brother's funeral. The younger brother came up and spoke. So you have a lot of them.
Oh yeah, and he was in the NFL.
And he was in the military. You have two
He left a promising career to fight and die for our country.
And then still would not have wanted the religious, show at his funeral. Very interesting. Oh, another big thing this year, Cuba and the United States back in July reopened diplomatic relations after 55 years of separation. That's a big deal, because Cuba has a lot of medical advancements and we have brand new cars for them.
Yeah. We'd love to sell them to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, every time I see pictures of Cuba, because there's been sort of an embargo since the 50s, their cars are all those really cool old 50s cars. They just keep fixing them. It's just interesting.
And I welcome, I understand there's like a lot of atheists and secularists in Cuba, maybe just because it was communist, but I'm like, yeah, come visit America, intermarry with our very religious Latino populations.
Absolutely.
And every religious population, really, and make America like lean more secular more and more.
So when it comes to relations with communist countries, and I'm glad that the Cold War, this is signaling. Of course, North Korea is like the last true bastion of the Cold War, but this with Cuba has really helped move things along, and I think I'm glad, because all that stuff, the Cold War and communism, red, and the Cuban Missile Crisis, it's all over, and we can't move on unless you water under the bridge, Cuba. So welcome.
Yeah.
That was back in July. What next?
Can't wait for the food.
I can't wait for the food.
It's like
either.
Cuban places everywhere. Oh, it'd be so good.
So speaking of, I was like communist country, but
the Hajj stampede?
No, not communist country. I was going to talk about China.
Okay.
And the air in Beijing, and the artist had a vacuum cleaner, and he walked around for a year, and he sucked up the pollution and was able to make a brick out of the pollution in Beijing. They're getting the Olympics in 2022, so
hopefully they'll have vacuumed up enough air for
it's gonna be
athletes to breathe.
Yeah, it's they say it's like smoking 3 packs of cigarettes or something. I'm sure I'm not getting that right.
And I'm sure a lot of people are smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day just to get some fresh air.
Just to get some fresh air. It's like I've heard that. Remember that movie Spaceballs? When the guy had and the guy was breathing fresh air in a can. That's a new industry that could come out. It is scary. And so we were going to talk about the Hajj pilgrimage this year really quickly, because we're almost out of time. But back in September, during the Hajj, a stampede during the stoning of the devil ritual killed 700 people and injured about 1,000 more. Even Saudi Arabia won't really talk about how that happened. But we'd talk more at length about this, but we're almost out of time.
Yeah.
Well, really quick, what would you have to say about that?
It's a lot of people. You got to protect them. Same thing whether it's Disney World or Mecca.
I think one would be more fun.
Yeah, and we hear about this like seemingly like every year in India at temples. I think this is different because Mecca, it's the only temple or whatever that you go to for this kind of thing, and within Islam, and there's so many more people. Islam is over 1 billion people, and everyone's required to like go here, and there's only so many days in the year, and so many people are out there, and we know about crowd mentality is that
you're gonna get
you have one scared person and it cascades through it, and then you have tramples and stampedes.
And then that brings up the whole question about religious pilgrimages in the first place. Well, that'll do it for us. We have a little bit of time, so I just wanted to wrap up and say we love bringing you this show every week, and we'll be back next year to bring you more thoughts. We'll have great guests, we'll have great topics, and we'll be here.
We wish you success in the new year. I hope you had an opportunity to spend some time with some family and friends and have an enjoyable break from, the whole rest of the year. We're sure you've been working hard.
And don't forget to check out our website about volunteering for Road to Reason. And
you can contact us through the Facebook page. We're looking
Facebooks
for a technical crew and
anybody else who do it. So, I mean, pretty much I'm looking forward to 2016.
Yep.
I think that it's going to be... No, 2015 was pretty good for me.
Yeah.
So I can't really...
More of the election season.
Oh, I can't wait for this.
Fun.
I can't wait for this.
And the Reason Rally is coming back.
Oh, God, yes!
June 2nd through June 6th.
God.
6/16.
God, when's the Reason Rally?
I was really hoping you weren't going to mention that.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. The last time we got together, all you did was sprinkle us with rain.
Well, I did my best to drive you heathens away.
Do you have any last words for us, God? For 2015? No, I think God has abandoned us. Oh, well. And so I guess everybody from all of us here at Road to Reason, looks like we have a few more.
We got about a minute.
Yeah, we got about a minute.
Happy unholidays.
Say happy unholidays?
Happy unholidays.
Happy unholidays.
Unholy days.
Unholy days. Well, I know one thing. When we get back next year, we're going to have a little bit more to talk about, I hope. Because this year was weird. But when we did our year in review, I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot going on.
I will say that y'all didn't lie like some of those psychics, which is kind of decent.
Oh my
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Well, if you were a psychic, you would tell us.
Yeah, but you're still going to burn in hell, so just to let you know.
Can you tell who the real psychics are?
No.
Okay.
Oh my God. All right. That'll do it for us. I'm Tiffany Harding.
I'm Scott Maddox.
And that's us here at Road to Reason, wishing you a great 2016.
15 seconds.
15 seconds.
Happy holidays.
No, don't even start. Don't even start. Well, like I said,
acquaintance me forgot.
oh God, yes. Please drive safely on New Year's Day because
don't drive.
Yeah, if that's all. Oh.